Rack focus. Hey everybody, Johnny O from the Plot Hole here, and it's time for Unpopular Opinions episode 22, Deuces. Let's get right into it. Unpopular opinion number 1. Red velvet cake is just chocolate cake with a whole mess of red food coloring. It's delicious, mind you, but to attempt to charge more simply because we call it red velvet and it has red food coloring, that's just mean. Why deny those who wish to experience new things simply because of the color of the cake? What, the second we give something a fancy name like red velvet, all of a sudden elevates it to some sort of super prosperous, just pinky out status? By that logic, if I were to make a doo-doo Sammy and then rebrand it Le Pour Sans do you all of a sudden want to eat it? I didn't think so. Unpopular opinion number 2. Taking a moment to lament your situation doesn't mean that you don't acknowledge nor take into consideration someone else's situation, which might be a little worse than yours. We have all heard and used the phrase, first world problems, I'm sure. And yes, some of the things that we complain about are nowhere near as bad as we make them seem. So what? Starbucks ran out of mocha. That's not the end of the world. But just because that gets you angry doesn't mean that you think that your life is much worse than those who don't have clean water to drink. Taking a few minutes to lament in whatever trivial situation you find yourself in can be helpful to keep things in perspective if you lament properly. Let yourself go through the whole process of complaining, all the while listening to yourself in order to keep yourself grounded. Yes, the little things can be bothersome, and yes, venting about those little things is a good way to work through it. Just don't let that alter your perspective negatively. Keep those who are less fortunate than you in your thought process and figure out a way to use your complaints as motivation to help others, be it through service or whatever. Unpopular opinion number 3. Age isn't just a number. Now, I recently entered into the age group that one should monitor one's retirement just a little bit more closely. And I have to tell you, 40 isn't just a number. It can be frightening for someone who didn't expect to make it past his 20s to all of a sudden wake up, look in the mirror, and see a gray beard and a receding hairline. Having a conversation with one of my coworkers, this coworker let me know that her mother turned 40. Extrapolate that. That means I'm old enough to be this person's father. And she's of legal drinking age, 21 here in the States. Yes, let me freak out a bit. As you all know, I have children, and those children are growing up way faster than I did, as children tend to do. That's frightening. I look at my mother and my father and I see my future. At least I hope it's my future. They both have grandchildren. It wasn't but yesterday that my mother was teaching me how to make my first lasagna, and my father was teaching me how to throw my first baseball. And now they're grandparents. Where did the time go? Cliché? Yes. But it's an important question to ponder nonetheless. I freely admit that 40 is relatively young compared to some of the other members in this community, and in no way, shape, or form am I trying to say that I'm ancient or that it's time to join the geriatric communities. I'm simply saying that 40 seems to be the time that self-reflection is a little bit more important than just an exercise in self-help. My grandfather on my mother's side passed away in his 50s. I mean, that's only 10 years away from me. Puts things into perspective. Anywho, let's move on. Finally, when you look at people who have violently attempted a coup in your name, call them very fine people, that you appreciate what they've done, and that you love them, you no longer get to escape the criticism that you're a shitty leader. I'm probably going to get demonetized for this one, but it has to be said. Trump, you're a disgrace to the American presidency. You actively sowed seeds of distrust and discontent in the American electoral process that cost 5 people their lives. When the check came and it was time to pay, you, like always, let someone else pick up the tab. I'm sure that I don't have to tell anyone watching this video what I'm talking about. However, just for clarity, and in case this survives the next extinction level event, I will. This most recent protest that was actively called for by the sitting president of the United States of America, the one that cost 5 people their lives, has to be called what it is: a violent attempt of sedition and a coup. And if you disagree, stating that all they did was disrupt a formality, let me ask you this. Would you say the same thing if the people doing the insurrection were members of Antifa or Black Lives Matter movement? Yeah, I didn't think so. And before you clap back with, "This wasn't very well organized" nonsense, that doesn't matter. If I plan to rob a bank, making a piss-poor attempt at executing that plan doesn't mean that I'm not guilty of attempted bank robbery, breaking and entering, and a whole list of other offenses. Also, the authorities discovered that these terrorists had several explosive devices, the means to take and hold hostages, and this is not substantiated, so I cannot say this with all certainty, but what appears to have been inside help. These people who stormed our nation's capital need to be met with swift and effective punishment, charged with treason, sedition, and 5 counts of murder. That's right. If your criminal actions cause someone's death, then you are held accountable for those deaths. Furthermore, these are the same people that criticized Colin Kaepernick for taking a knee during the national anthem. A non-violent, peaceful protest that was not illegal and didn't result in the death of anybody. Yeah, Mr. Trump, you're lumped in there too. You have the audacity to demonize Kaepernick, all the while praising those that marched into the flags of our enemy, calling them very fine people and that you appreciate what they're trying to do. Mr. Trump, you're responsible for treason, sedition, and an attempted coup. Your actions directly cause these people to take up arms against the country in which you are sworn to protect. It's too bad that Mike Pence lets his wife carry his testicles in her purse, because if he had any kind of backbone, he would enact the 25th Amendment and remove you from office. Congress will attempt to impeach once again, and perhaps you'll go down as the only president to be impeached twice. Maybe we can get those that live in the Senate to actually let the evidence speak. I doubt it. I didn't want to end this so negatively, but with current events and people's reaction to said current events, I had to let out a little bit of frustration. I'm glad Trump is on the way out. I'm not one to mince words. I've never been a Trump fan. I just wish he had some scruples about him. To anyone I've offended with this rant, sorry not sorry. I get a little heated when I watch the country where I've spent my entire life, I've grown up in this country, tear itself apart because of the lies of a petulant child. I'm Johnny O, and that's the show for today. These are my unpopular opinions. I hope I didn't offend you too much. If I did, leave me a comment down in the comment section. If you enjoyed the show today, do be sure to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. I appreciate all of your support. If you enjoyed the show and you want to support the show monetarily, you can do so. www.patreon.com/theplothole1. That's the number 1, not the O-neaters. I need 2 more patrons and I'll stop telling that shitty joke. Also, if you notice, I've got channel memberships open now. Yay! You can become a YouTube channel member for I think like $2, give or take, $1.99, something like that. Anyway, if you choose to do so, I really appreciate it. If not, if you can't afford it, of course, I completely understand. Like, share, subscribe, all those things really helps the algorithm, really helps the channel grow. Leave me a comment again down there letting me know if you think I'm a jerk or whatever. I can handle it. It's fun. Let me know what your unpopular opinions are. Anyway, I'm Johnny O. This is The Plot Hole. Don't forget, keep your opinions unpopular, baby.